er en stor stjerne på Broadway. Keith Carradine har blandt andet medvirket i musicalen Hair, som nogle af jer måske kender. Og så er Keith Carradine oldebarn af Max Henius, den danskfødte stifter af Rebild National Park Society. Keith Carradine, we're very pleased to have you here in the Rebild Hills today. The theme for this year's celebration of the 4th of July could have been back to your roots, since your great-grandfather was the founder of the Rebild National Park Society. You can be very proud of that. Thank you for being here today and for being the American main speaker.
Thank you. Your Majesty, Your Royal Highness, Madam Prime Minister, Your Excellency. Ladies and gentlemen, 100 years ago today, my great-grandfather, Max Henius, stood here and celebrated the realization of a dream. That here in these beautiful heather-covered hills, there would be a gathering. That this gathering would take place every year on the occasion of the anniversary of his adopted country's inception. That there would be an annual recognition here in Denmark, the country of his birth, of the birthday of the United States of America, and the great and lasting friendship of our two nations. 50 years ago today, my beloved grandfather, Henry Henius, stood here and spoke of his father, Max, of his Danish heritage, and of his love for these hills and his fond memories of roaming them as a child. He then returned to his seat, and here, amidst the beauty of this place, and having felt once more the embrace of the Danish people, he drew his last breath and passed away. Please rest assured I have taken every precaution not to repeat his poetic but inconvenient timing. Thank you. I was 12 years old that day at a summer camp on Catalina Island off the coast of Southern California. When I was told of his loss, I was bereft and inconsolable. He was a powerful and supportive presence in my life, and I have been haunted by his memory ever since. Over the years, I've often imagined this place where his spirit took flight. There was a painting that hung in my grandparents' home of Max's summer house, which stood across the road from here. And as a child, I would gaze up at that painting, drawn to it by the feeling of bucolic serenity that it evoked. But though my travels have taken me many places in the world, it wasn't until last summer that I finally came here. Well, better late than never, as they say. When my wife and I walked into this glen last August, it was the beginning of a long overdue odyssey of discovery. I had finally come not only to this beautiful place, but also to a burgeoning awareness of my Danish roots and how deeply they reach. With the exception of the American Indian, my country is a nation of immigrants, and our society is an often raucous demonstration of this seminal fact. Our mores, our diverse customs, and our myriad distinctive microcultures all reflect what millions of immigrants carried with them when they left their places of origin to claim a stake in a new land that welcomed new beginnings. But Americans today are sometimes too self-satisfied with what we like to think of as our exceptionalism. We often allow our pride in our unruly democracy and our lurching efforts toward ever greater social progress to distract us from reflecting on how our exceptionalism is in fact a gift from abroad. A gift from those who came to American shores already committed to justice, to freedom, and the promise of a better life for themselves and for their descendants. When it comes to matters of justice, equality, and social tolerance, I am staunchly liberal. And I have until recently assumed that my attitudes were profoundly influenced by having come of age during the 1960s, a turbulent era of social protest and landmark advances in the never-ending struggle to overcome bigotry and oppression. But what I'm now learning about my Danish roots leads me to think that my humanist tendencies are due as much to my family heritage as to the political influences of my youth. The Danish people have a long history of promoting tolerance, personal freedom, and respect for human rights. Consider, for example, the heroic resistance to oppression and bigotry by Danes such as Kai Munk and King Christian X. And the Danish celebration of community sets an example that some American proponents of the philosophy of every man for himself might do well to reflect upon. Your society's commitment to freedom and human dignity are admired throughout the world, as is your embrace of cutting-edge approaches to critical issues like conservation and ecologically responsible energy production. It is precisely these qualities that Danish immigrants brought with them to America's melting pot, and American culture has been immeasurably strengthened by their contribution. When Max Henius was confronted by a water system in Chicago befouled with runoff from that city's notorious stockyards, he helped organize an engineering team to confront the problem. They devised a plan that actually altered the course of the Chicago River, thereby mitigating the pollution. This was decades before the establishment of the Environmental Protection Agency. And Max pioneered the cleanup of Chicago food supplies long before Sinclair Lewis wrote his famous expose, The Jungle, and years before the creation of the Food and Drug Administration. There can be no doubt that these public-spirited, progressive accomplishments were a reflection of my great-grandfather's Danish social and political values. During World War II, my grandfather Henry was instrumental in securing passage to and entree into the United States for Jewish refugees escaping the Nazi occupation of Denmark. Again, a reflection of humanitarian impulses, rooted in traditional Danish values. And Max had passed this on to his son. My grandfather also made really good beer. In fact, the craft of brewing has been in the Henius family since Max's father, Isidor, came to Aalborg in 1837 and co-founded De Danske Spirifabriker. His Tafel Aquavit is stimulating palates to this day. In fact, I've had several glasses today already. Skål. And Max's Wall Henius Institute in Chicago was, prior to Prohibition, the premier place in America for the teaching of the art of brewing. The more I learn of my forebears, the greater is my sense of pride in my Danish heritage, and the deeper my appreciation for the tradition we celebrate here today. I found myself coming to a greater understanding of what my grandfather and great-grandfather seemed innately to know: the boundless value of a sense of connection to one's ancestry, along with the importance of nurturing the friendships that spring from the bond between one's new land and one's ancestral home. We are, of course, all connected in so many ways, but there is a special resonance imbued in the friendship we celebrate here today. For this is a friendship dating back to the Vikings, a friendship that has endured through 2 world wars and uncounted eras of dramatic social change. This is a friendship that transcends ephemeral politics, a friendship cemented by shared values and a shared sense of respect for our fellow man. Friendship is a uniquely human trait. The word itself evokes a picture of our better selves, our capacity for compassion, a willingness to share hardship as well as joy. One of life's true graces is that a true friend accepts our failings as well as our triumphs. It has been said that no man can be called a failure if, at life's end, he can claim to have made one true friend. History confirms beyond any doubt that in Denmark, the United States has a true friend indeed. Max Henius made his life in America, but these hills were in his heart, and that heart pumped Danish blood to his dying day. He understood that what he brought to his new country, he brought from here. And he wanted to build a kind of permanent bridge between our 2 countries. He wanted it remembered for generations to come that an ocean was crossed, and ideas were shared, and lives were changed because of the bond between Denmark and America. I have only to look around me at this gathering to see this bond reaffirmed yet again. Just think how remarkable this is. I mean, here we all are, a world away from America, celebrating the 4th of July, America's Independence Day. It is well known that this is the largest such celebration outside of the United States. Well, how proud the old eagle would be to know that a century after that first 4th of July celebration in 1912, his vision of an annual celebration of the Danish-American friendship he held so dear remains alive and well, and that that bridge still stands. Thank you.